Okay. 3.6, I call 3.6 fun. Whether or not you actually think it's fun is not really up to you. It's up to me. You'll work on this. It won't take you super long. If you play your cards right, you should get almost all of it done, have very little to do over the long weekend, and we will dive into 3.7 on Tuesday. Okay? So we'll get to that a little bit. I do want to begin with the test. Okay, friendly reminders, your test, your business, not anybody else's. I know some of you struggle with that, but you kind of leave yourself open to any feelings you might have when you share your exam results. So it's kind of difficult to be like, oh, well, this, blah, blah, blah. Like, the people that keep it to themselves, they can kind of process it however they want, when they want. Okay, so even if you've already shared it, I really can't tell you enough. You're just doing damage to yourself by sharing your results, looking at other people. It's not going to work out great for you. I do want to spend a little time going through it, so please keep it out. Okay? If you did a Shiva sticker, it is aggressively cherry. I think fairly aggressively cherry. Ooh. I gotta be honest with you, the Smells Like game is not one I like playing in middle school. Ooh. All right. Ooh, all right. Take a moment, look through. I'd like to remind you, I think it's an aggressive smell, but that could just be me. Okay. I'd like to remind you, for those of you that did the Steelers bonus, if you're interested in using it on any quarter one test, I just need to know by like next Thursday. After next Thursday, the grades are pretty much done. Okay, and then it's good. I keep getting asked, though, you don't have to use them all. You can save them. You just can't go back into a quarter when it's closed. That's the only deal. Okay? So cool. Okay, so I'm going to point out the problem spots. Here's the good news. I tried to tell you yesterday. If you didn't love your grade, okay, no one failed the exam. Okay? Like, it's not like we're talking about ghastly, terrible results. But, I know a lot of you think that you're just going to get an A every time. But the truth is that everybody, you get a B occasionally. It happens. Whether or not it's the end of the world is kind of up to you. But I can promise you it really shouldn't be the end of the world. Because if that's the end of the world, there's a lot more hard times coming down the line. That was the average. I think it's okay. I never stood up here and said, hey, it's an easy test. I haven't done that yet. Okay, and maybe there'll be some that are easier than others, but I thought there were things to talk about. Okay, so I'm not going to go over all of them. Per usual, if you have individual questions about your grade or a question, just ask me off to the side. There is time a little bit today. I thought we were cruising through number one, and then I did run into some problems from people. Complete the statement, if transversals intersect two parallel lines, then, okay, I had a fair amount of people pick D. You start to read these, once you pick out the false ones, you know it can't be all the above. Corresponding angles are supplementary. That's not true, because what are they? Okay, so if that's the case, this is out immediately, right? It's out immediately because that can't be an option. Same side interior angles are congruent. That's actually, so the only choice is right here, okay? This question, okay, let's get a couple things out of the gate right now. I'm not putting in 67 just because, okay? And I'm definitely not changing anything because of the mean. Seriously, okay? If you're like, oh, he wants us to pick 67. No, I really don't care what you pick. You pick what you want. But a lot of people did pick 67 because they thought it was the alternate exterior angle, not the alternate, the exterior angle theorem of triangles. They thought these angles add up to 114, like the Kahoot question. That's actually not the case. These angles do not create that one. Okay, so let's talk about how to get it. I would say, you know what, that seems a little too easy. If this is 114, what's that? The vertical. Then if you add the angles of the triangle up to 180, okay, then you can see what your answer is. I want to say, is it 19? Okay. So you're thinking, oh, well, he told us about that exterior angle theorem. Yeah, but they don't line up. These two don't add to create that particular angle. Okay, so that one was actually fairly tricky. A number of people did get tripped up on it. I think you were just assuming that it was the exterior angle theorem, but actually it doesn't quite line up. Okay, I thought 6 was tricky as well. Some people did some really, really interesting things. They tried to like split this. You don't really have the authority to angle bisect like that, so I wouldn't draw that in, but I would draw another line in. Don't you think I could draw this guy in? And so if this is 28, okay, then what else do we know? Yeah, but we could also then kind of progress a little bit more from here. 28, 88, what would this supplement be right here? No, 88 next to the 88. 92. Okay, and then you could use 92, okay, this 28, that unknown, and then go from there. Like, there's a lot of ways to go about getting it. Okay, that's the transversal that I drew in, though. Okay, this one went well in Spurs. We did one like it in the Kahoot. I won't lie, that's a very shady drawn line, but they are parallel because they gave you these symbols. You know, it's tough for me to grade your work because you probably used one variable to get the other. Okay, there's a couple ways to approach it. If you look at it this way, you could spot a couple of corresponding angles. Okay, I don't know if you notice it, but who does x minus 3 correspond with? 74. That was probably the fastest way to get x. Okay, and I could actually look at it a little bit differently. If I go here, okay, do I spy, if this is 41, alternate interiors, that is 41. I could use the triangle to get y, or I could, once I have one of those, I could go on a straight line with all 3 angles, okay? I want to say it was y 57, I can't remember offhand. X is 77, y is 57, okay, cool. Okay, then that's the proofs. Now, if I didn't show it, everything else is pretty good. Okay, pretty good. Very minimal issues, okay? We're getting the things that we need. A few things. It's not always easy for me to grade the proofs because, yeah, it's like a point per step, but if your argument's like really flawed, I can't just say, oh, -1. Like some of you had some very flawed arguments, okay? Let's get one thing out of the way. Give the missing reasons in this proof of the alternate exterior angles theorem. Since you are proving the alternate exterior angles theorem, what cannot ever be one of your reasons? Layla. The alternate exterior theorem. Or the converse of it. That's what you're proving. So you can't, if you have anywhere in there, like one of your reasons is the alternate exterior angle theorem or its converse, like I can't just take off a point for that. That's very flawed. Okay, you're basically saying, I'm going to use the proof that I'm trying to make as one of my reasons. It doesn't work. Okay? Cool. This one actually went okay. It was the next one that was a little bit of a mess. Given L is parallel to N, so there's all kinds of things you know. Even without this, if that's parallel, you know all the relationships that should be true. Everybody got the first one. L parallel to N with an E, not G-I-V-I-N. I saw that. Okay, it's that. Now when I say spelling matters, I wouldn't take off for that, but like my heart aches. The spelling did matter for the bonus. Okay? How do you know that 1 is congruent to 3? Pretty much everybody got this one. Pretty much everybody. How do you know 1's congruent to 3? Vertical angles theorem. It is a theorem. It is not a postulate. Yes, you could have written down the words vertical angles are congruent. If you couldn't remember, is it a theorem or is it a postulate? It's more writing, but you can say vertical angles are congruent. You really should say vertical angles are congruent for parallel lines. Okay, but it is a vertical angle theorem, which is good. And I told you could abbreviate that VAT. Okay, so 1 is congruent to 3. So I'm going to mark in my diagram. I think it's helpful. 1 matches 3. Their next step, 7 is congruent to 3. So 3 is congruent to 7. Corresponding angles, postulate, axiom, not theorem. Okay? And then finally, some of you tried to give me substitution. That is not substitution. Okay? If 1 is congruent to 3, 7 is congruent to 3, therefore 1 is congruent to 3, transitive property congruence. Most of you, very few issues on this first proof. I kind of figured you're fill in the blank proofs. They've come a long way. Good job. Okay, questions about that one? You understand why you can't use alternate exterior angles theorem. You can't ever do that. Okay, in fact, if we do that again, it's probably going to be like minus almost all the points except for the given. It doesn't work. Okay, now this one. I got tired of writing it, so I wrote it on most of them, and I want to make sure we're clear on why a lot of you lost like 2 points on this one. Okay, this happened a lot more in period 5. Complete a 2-column proof for the following. G is parallel to H, angle 1 and angle 4 are supplementary given. Okay, you need to prove that P is parallel to R. Okay, little hint, some of you noticed, if it's 4 points, it's probably a 4-step proof. Now some of you have 5. If you have 5, you guess what you did. You split the givens. That's a lot, okay? But you should have had a sense, okay, I can probably get this done in like 4 steps, okay? Let's talk about where a lot of you lost points, and this comes up a little bit later. A lot of you tried to tell me very early on that 2 and 4 add up to 180 because they're same side interiors. Talk about it at your table why this cannot be an early step of the proof. Why can this not be an early step of the proof? Okay, why can that not be? A lot of you, I had to write it on your paper, okay, but anybody can tell me, Layla, why can that not be an early part of your proof? Yes, you need to prove that P and R are parallel. That's the end game. So a lot of you tried to use something that you don't know is true yet. I got real tired of writing it down because it was like a lot of you. Okay, so it would be great if I can get 2 and 4 to be congruent, but I can't use the reason same side interior angles postulate because that means P has to be parallel to R, and I have to prove that, okay? So how does the proof begin? Okay, just with your givens. Now again, some of you split the givens. Okay, some of you did a given in like step 1 and then a given in step 3. That's cool. Okay, you're always allowed to do that. So I know that that's the case. We talked about this multiple times in class. At some point, okay, I know 1 and 4 are connected. I'm probably going to have to connect 1 and 2 and 4 and get something going. Okay, but I can't do 2 and 4 right now. I can't. And if you try to tell me 2 and 4 is supplementary, I mean, I should take off a lot of points for that because you're using P and R parallel. We just don't know that. I can't connect 2 and 4 right now at all. It's too soon. I can connect 1 and 2. What's the reason? Alternate interior angle theorem. And I know that because they gave me G and H are parallel. There's my transversal 1 and 2. Okay? So if I was in your shoes, I wouldn't just be guessing. I'd say, okay, I've got 1 and 2 connected. I've got 1 and 4 connected, but not congruence. What's the next natural step? Connect 2 and 4. How can you connect 2 and 4? 2 and 4 are supplementary. Okay? It is not transitive. Transitive is strictly congruence. This is not a congruence statement. 1 and 4 are supplementary. 1 and 2 are congruent, which means I can use 2 anywhere I use 1. It is substitution. It is not supplements of the same angle. That is a different theorem. Okay? That leads to them being congruent. Oh wait, now 2 and 4 are supplementary. Can I prove P and R are parallel? What's the reason? You needed converse. And I feel bad doing this. I took off the full point if you didn't say converse, and I don't feel that bad because I definitely spent a lot of time up here talking to you about it needs to be the converse, like multiple times. Okay, so that's not worth a half point. You need full point. And then I didn't take off for this, but I got sad. Some of you didn't write QED. I did not take off for that, but I wanted to, but I might in the future. Put it down. Put it down, okay? Cool. No one lost points for that, but still. Lost points for other things. Okay, then finally, the bonus. Spelling matters for the bonus. That's how you spell it.
I spelled one word right.
Some of you were very close. Yes, exactly. The actual translation of what it means, I took a variety of answers. Demonstrandum was where a lot of you fell apart. Okay, I saw demonstratum, that was common. Okay, easy to spell like this. Okay, I don't know about this. See, I told you so. That seems a little sketchy to me, but it is proven. That which was to be proven. Somebody wrote down, we're done. I liked that, but no, that's fine. The spelling did matter for the bonus only. Okay? That gets put away. If you have individual questions, you ask me another time. Let's get the homework out. I'm going to cruise through it. That is random. There were some great efforts at the bonus. Great efforts. I'd say ask our Latin teacher, she retired. Okay. I thought you did a great job yesterday with these, but I wasn't stunned because it was your second go around with them, and it was more about the logic, okay? So the idea, reminder, the idea behind the parallel lines is if I copy an angle and the angles are corresponding, then I can use that converse of corresponding angles postulate to say that the lines are parallel. That's the whole idea. So I thought you did a pretty good job. I did tell you yesterday, I want you to start cutting down on some of the construction marks, okay? So like it's fine if you did this a little bit further. I actually told you yesterday, if you do this and that, I'm fine with that being your congruent marks, okay? But the days of drawing the complete circles, we need to kind of cut them out a little bit. It's not really proper, and they also kind of get in the way, okay? The second one I thought you did a nice job with as well. It's the perpendicular bisector, okay? You'll notice, it's fine if you draw up and on both sides, but don't get in your own way, okay? This one, I definitely wouldn't draw on both sides. It will run into your point when the point is not on the line. Okay. Questions about 1 through 3. 4 and 5 are a little bit different. How about 1 through 3? They look okay? Okay. Now 4 was a little bit different. You still need construction marks. You can't just take the ruler and put it up there because that's not a proof that it's parallel. Okay, like there's no proof at all. Like I glanced at a couple of the homework assignments. I didn't grade any of them yet. And I saw some people just draw a line through here. That is not proof of anything. There's no indicator that it's parallel. The thought is my construction marks prove that it's in fact parallel. So I essentially approached this problem basically like this line was there and this line was there, even though they were not. Copy this angle up and then it has the right vertex. There's a copy angle problem, okay? This one I thought was weird. I actually extended the line. I don't know if anybody else found that to be helpful. Because remember, the first step is that strange one. You have to take this guy. He doesn't want to come out to play. You have to take this guy and you have to draw an arc that hits this twice. I don't know if anybody else is able to do it. I wasn't able to do it without extending the line. That's okay, you're allowed to. It does say line RS. So I extended the line, I got this. Now at the end of the day, I was like, oh, big whoop, it's like almost straight up and down. But you do need the construction marks. You are allowed to extend lines, especially when they tell you it's a line. Okay, so that one I thought was a little bit strange. Okay, the rest of the homework I wasn't going to go over because that was straight out of Algebra 1. That should have given you all kinds of warm and fuzzy feelings. So now we have all these constructions. Those are pretty much the only ones we're going to do. Okay, and as we said, the good news is some of them like play off of each other. Parallel lines uses copy. Ooh, the highlighter, I lost the highlighter. Parallel lines uses this. Perpendicular lines and perpendicular at a point uses this. Okay, this one doesn't come up that much. Okay, we'll probably refresh that at some point. But those are all your constructions for the time being. I thought you did a nice job with it. Okay. Did I show you the Desmos responses? No, I showed period 5. I'll show you these and we'll be good. These are some of the highlights from the other day. We had one person that said salad was a vehicle. These are some interesting definitions. Okay, we have more. I love the first one, defined pieces of bread. I want to know what an undefined piece of bread is, I suppose. My favorite thing is about a vertical piece of bread. The second person, the medley. This person, they just used, it sounds nice. Soup is a medley of liquid and filling, which is savory and meant to be eaten for lunch or dinner. Then this person used the word medley in like all of their answers, just over and over. A nice method. This person was shouting at me. I don't know why. It's just part of it. The first one's just objectively terrifying. Yeah, so it's easy to say that the dead animals is like shocking, but I'm more shocked by the cauldron. Last time I checked, cauldron that was just witches. I thought, at least. Something in between something else that is also food. Very interesting. The last one is a liquid with solid things floating in it. I don't want to get too graphic, but that could describe a lot of things. Okay, and we're good. So, okay, those are some of the highlights, and by highlights I mean the lowlights. Before I let you turn you loose on that, I did post this yesterday. Those are the categories for best costumes or the costume awards. There are real prizes for them. We have best overall, second best overall, third best overall, best partner costume, which we'll talk about in a moment, best group costume, which is 3 or more people, the most creative, the best homemade, and then the most interesting, the one that just kind of gets me the most, be like, huh, that's interesting. Okay? Rules for the group and partner costumes. By the way, you don't have to dress up. Somebody said, do we have to? No, I'm not going to. How can I make you dress up? I'm not going to do that. You do not need to be in the same class period as your partner. They don't even need to be in one of my classes. I don't really care. But if you're not together, I need to see you together to properly judge and assess the costume. So if you're going to do a group or partner costume and they're not in my class, at some point you must all appear together so I can take a picture and judge. This is going to be in the morning home base. This could be an afternoon home base or some other scattered time during the day. But if I don't get your whole group together, I can't possibly enter you into the considerations. The decisions will be difficult. Just know that everybody who dresses up is considered a winner for that day. Okay. Okay. Any questions? Okay. The first page of this is pretty quick. The second and third are a little bit more annoying, but that's okay. I'm giving you plenty of time. Whatever you do not finish, Chief Do Tuesday. Here it is. 3.6 fun.